digital transformation and project management, experienced in assignments of supply chain transformation, operational excellence, quality and compliance enhancement, and manufacturing operation with an organization of high repute. So, I mean, as we see, he has experience in varied domains. So Hirak will be taking a keynote on the topic, preventing change fatigue in stakeholders during long-term projects. So welcome again, Hirak, over to you.
Yeah, thank you. Thank you very much, Piyush. Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining. I would like to first thank Confexpo team for inviting me to speak on such a good topic, which is preventing fatigue in long-term projects and change fatigue management. Let me share my screen first. I hope the screen is visible to all. So I said, the topic is preventing change fatigue in stakeholders during long-term projects. And we are here to tackle a challenge that often emerges in our long-term projects, that is change fatigue. And this phenomenon is deeply affected our stakeholder engagement and project success. Today's presentation, yes, we will cover aspects of the preventing change fatigue, what is change fatigue, and then what are the factors that are affecting. And after that, like, we will also cover actionable insights and tools that I hope everyone will get to maintain high levels of engagement within the team during the long-term projects. And the
Hirak, can you please put the PPT on presentation mode?
Yeah, it is on presentation mode.
No, it's not. I mean, it's not full screen.
Is it okay now?
Yes, yes. Good to.
Thanks, Piyush, for correcting. Yeah. So what I was telling, like, by the end, yes, we will. I hope everyone will have actionable insights and tools to maintain high levels of engagement and enthusiasm for the greater project success. So I would. This is the content, not a big presentation or like not a. This is all about the real life and the industrial experience of my last 16 years of professional journey. So mostly, like, I can say, like, there are people who have experience better than me. They have done a major projects, and every project manager has this kind of projects in their lifetime. So it is just sharing of real time stories and examples, and seeing the project from my eye. So, like, we will cover today on the definition and impact of the change fatigue. We'll identify signs of change fatigue and how we can mitigate that. The factors which can contribute to the fatigue in long-term projects. Basically, there are three factors which we will talk about. There are managing expectation, which includes complexity, flexibility, and communication. Morale and motivation management, how do we do that, and stakeholder engagement. So at the end, we'll have some insight and actionables, and the summary parts we will also discuss. And so first of all, like, before starting, let me just give you an example. This is a real time example. When we were doing some projects back in 2017-18, manufacturing process improvement, where a company has started introduction of series of changes to improve efficiency and reduce cost in a greenfield project. And that project includes, like, lot of production technology changes, process modifications, and we started with a very excitement and very high morale and motivation this project. But during the project, when we pass through the project's life cycle, we have done a very good planning in terms of when we kick off the plan, we define, measure, evaluate, and basically we did all the better planning to execute the project in a nicely manner. And when it started the execution phase, during the mid of the execution phase, the everything goes into other direction. Like people, production team and workers are struggling to adapt the new equipment, new procedures. We did not get the desired productivity, higher error rate. We are not able to get the right first time product, and also we have very high amount of increased safety incidents. And then one day, like, our management team called, and then we sat together, understand that yes, what are why we should identify what are the reason for this. Better planning goes into other direction. And then, yes, we took the correction. We first slow down the pace of change. We implement the robust training program in place again, and then identify and provide the additional support to the employee to mitigate the negative effect. But as a long-term project, that was a learning, and then we started discussing that yes, what are the key factors which has given us the impact and this negative effect. And the reason we identified, the root cause we identified, was the change fatigue during the entire life cycle of the project. So let us first of all understand what is the change fatigue. Change fatigue is occurred when stakeholders and the team members are exhausted by ongoing process. We are getting multiple disengagement from the team. We reduce productivity, resistance in every meeting, every forums. We get a higher amount of change resistance from the team. Also, there are few symptoms like people started taking leaves or absenteeism during the key meetings, presentations. The lack of enthusiasm is missing. The performance is declining. Like, these are the symptoms of this change fatigue, and we, as a project manager, has to understand that yes, these are the early signs. These are the signs of our change fatigue. Here also we need to understand what does a long-term project mean. Long-term project means the project which includes multiple process and stages to manage the multiple changes. Also, maybe like a strategic objective of the organization, a major change of the organization, which the projects are basically of 2.5 years of life cycle, where typically managed through program management, projects in controlled environment. This kind of project, like, yes, the change fatigue in the smaller project, short-term project, improvement projects are not so high, because that projects are of 3 months, 6 months, and people have that motivation and enthusiasm to achieve their end results in a short term. But when we talk about long-term projects, yes, these symptoms are common, and we used to see these symptoms. How do we identify the early signs of the fatigue? Like, first is the communication breakdown. You see lot of poor communication, lot of misunderstanding on the project goals, lot of people are not aware of the next step, roles, responsibilities, and then frequent miscommunication, to and fro emails from different departments, different confusion, multiple meetings are happening to resolve one single issue, or a decision delays are happening. So this is kind of communication breakdown, which gives a early warning sign. Second is higher level of stress. People started taking sick leaves. People are stressed, facing stress related issues. They are exhausted. Multiple members are taking sick leaves or casual leave, not want to attend the critical occasions of the project, like critical meetings, steering committee meetings. They are not. They are giving reason for other priorities. That kind of reasons are like, these are the early warning signs of the change fatigue. Third is the feedback trends. Like, yes, you, from different stakeholders in the formal, non-formal manner, you get a negative or critical feedback from the stakeholders, and complaints in one-to-one meetings, surveys. So these are the early warning signs of, like, yes, your project is into the phase of change fatigue, and you need to manage this change fatigue. So first of all, like, when we understand what are the factors and what are the early warning signs, then we sat together and understood, like, what are the, we wrote down all the issues into one Excel sheet and identified and categorize them into three major buckets. But before that, what we need to understand is like first the relationship between your knowledge of process and the objective. So we started with the very basic concept on how what is our knowledge level of the process and technology what we are using, and what are the specific objectives. Like this is the first quadrant where the specific objective is clear and the technology which we are going to use, that knowledge is clear, we'll have a better chances of project success. The real life example is like most of our artists use paint numbers as their base to paint their base as for their painting, right? So they know what uh, process or knowledge or technology they are using, and the end objective is also very clear. So the chances of this kind of projects are very high, and always we should try to remain in this where knowledge and objectives are clear. Now second is kind of where knowledge and technology is known to us, but our certainty of the objective or end results are not clear. Like making a movie, like you know how to you make the movie, processes and technologies are known, but the audience reaction, the reaction of the people are uncertain. So this is kind of a quadrant where the uncertainty in terms of objectives are there. This is a very dangerous quadrant where lost in fog, where objective and knowledge both are lagged. People are lagged into their uh, uh, process knowledge, technology knowledge, and also the objective or KPIs or key performance indicators of the projects are not known. We should always try to avoid this quadrant. And ultimately, when we sat down and we understood that what was the problem, we started with this quadrant, slowly moved into this quadrant where the objective was missed, and then ultimately we ended because we could not handle the complexity of technology. We lost in the fog, and the entire project got in the other direction. Yes, this fourth quadrant is basically, you can see in the vision statement of the organization, where the technology and process are not known, but the objectives are very clear. So this is the endeavor of an organization, and this is a separate discussion where their vision will be converted into mission, and then mission will be converted into values, and then the objectives will be taken up. But yes, whenever we start the project, we should always have knowledge about process and clarity on the objectives. So once we identified that and we found out that yes, our project went into this stage, then we categorize all the problems into three major buckets, like managing expectation, managing morale and motivation, and managing the stakeholder engagement. Now, if you further go into the detail, we identified that expectation in terms of project complexity and uncertainty were the one of the reason. Frequent scope changes or lack of adapting to change, flexibility is one of the reason, and lack of communication, like when to do what, the communication metrics were not in place, and people were struggling to manage the expectation, and it ultimately went into the change fatigue kind of a problem. Second bigger problem we identified was the managing morale and motivation, where people were stressed due to long working hours, tight deadlines, poor work-life balances, frequent and extensive travel demands. And third is the stakeholder management, where role ambiguity, stress, unclear expectations, pressure from stakeholders, and repetitive tasks are the major key reasons. So managing three categories which further drilled down, we identified that these are the common and major factors which affect the project derail, and then ultimately to the change fatigue to the team. So we'll go one by one that how these factors we identified, and then we resolve the issues. So first was to manage the expectation. First is the part of a complexity. When we define a complexity in terms of project objective, project milestones, organizing the task, understanding what are the, visualize the project end to end, what are the key activities to identify. So what we initially, generally what we do, and what we also did, that generally we write down all the tasks into one sheet. then we define the target deadlines or target completion dates and identify the person, and we start chasing the person to complete that task. But when we talk about complexity, to manage the complexity as a project manager, we should have a visualized timelines and a proper sequencing with which activity will happen, what are the predecessor and successor of each activity into the project plan that should be defined. So this is a 5-step process which may help. Like first, to have a very clear project charter to understand the project, identifying the milestones, the team member engagement, and what is the background of the problem. A very clear project charter should be in place. Then we should have a list and task activities. We should have a detail of tasks which are breakdown into smaller tasks. Smaller tasks also gives the flexibility to our project and easy to track. And also organizing and estimating the duration of each task. Once we have this task in place, breaking down the task, then identifying the dependency and creating a sequence is major activity, where every task will have a successor and predecessor activities in the project plan, which will give you a defined critical activities which may impact the scheduling. So that activity, if gets delayed, the entire project may get delayed. So that critical activity or high focus activity you will be able to identify through that plan. And after that, a resource allocation for each plan. What is the resource and how many resourcing hours we are going to deploy? That also gives us a better clarity to resolve the complexity of the project. At the end, you should choose a tool. There are multiple tools available in the market for project management, like Microsoft Project, Asana. We have like Streamliners. There are multiple AI related tools are also available into the market, which can give you a clear cut Gantt charts, clear identification of critical activities. Even Microsoft Project gives you a resource plan, labor plan, cost bifurcation, everything into one report, and you will get a real time update of the project, where it is going, which activity is delayed, how much delayed, and you can take a decision that yes, this is required, and we can resolve the issue in a real-time manner. So managing complexity, it is very important to have a detailed project plan with all the sequences, and as a project manager, we should visualize the project into a Gantt chart phase, and where all the activities are clearly defined. Second expectation is to manage the flexibility and priority. As I said earlier, like smaller tasks give better flexibility, easier to track the progress. Now the problem comes when tasks which are coming, which are not into your project plan, which are not mentioned into your project plan, and you could not understand what is important and urgent, and what activity we should do, where to focus. And ultimately, team members are not applying their efforts in the right direction. So over here, like we can use this Heisenhower matrix, which categorize tasks into 4 quadrants. That is on urgency and important basis. So every important and urgent task is come under this quadrant, that is do quadrant. We should do it immediately. Important but not urgent, that can be scheduled and decide for later one. The urgent but not important task should be delegated, and we can define the responsibility of a person that yes, you should do this task at this time. And not urgent and not important tasks should be postponing or delete the task. So we can decide and train our team members on this quadrant, and identifying and prioritizing their activities which are not majorly mentioned in your project plan, and ultimately that activity comes to execute to achieve and fulfill the project outcome. Secondly, real-time monitoring or monitoring of your project, where you are lagging. So key KPIs should be defined, and with the details, with alarm limit and a unit of measurement, so that the escalation and support can be raised immediately once this goes off track. And clear project review mechanism should be defined. Also, mostly team members are not aware of what kind of escalation they should do at what level. Sometimes a very minor issue escalated to the top level, and sometimes very important issues gets escalated to a very within the team. So that a clear escalation matrix also gives a better flexibility, and we should define that what are the escalations that can be made within the project team. Third, to improve the flexibility, we should identifying the risk. We can use the tools like FMEA risk assessment and creating the backup plan to alternative strategies for in case of initial plans have an obstacle. So managing flexibility required to have a urgent and important task management, clear monitoring and real-time monitoring, and having an alternate plan in place that gives the flexibility and priorities management. Third is a very clear communication matrix. So it should be defined and signed off by every team member at what stakeholder has what is the purpose of their the frequency of communication for which channel they are doing, and what kind of sender and receiver expectations are there. So this kind of matrix where if you see like stakeholders are defined, their purpose is defined, frequency, a channel, a sender and receiver informations are also defined very clearly. So this gives a team a very clear cut guidance that in what situation, what should they do and to whom they can escalate or communicate the issue. So this is how about the managing expectation part. Now comes to the managing morale and motivation. So as I said, if you want to maintain your morale and motivation of the team, you don't need to do a new things. Rather, you need to avoid few things. Like most of the projects when we started, like we see lot of incomplete information, inadequate sharing of project details or changes to the team. We are not giving a full and entire information to the team. Sometimes mixed messages like project leaders are having inconsistent communication from leadership team, confusion about priorities and expectations, working in silos, delayed decisions, procrastination, avoiding to resolve the issues leading to the escalation and larger problems, ineffective meetings. So this kind of problems should be avoided. And to manage the morale and motivation, there's a simple 3-point guideline. Establish a clear channel to the team, encourage open communication, and very, very important of celebrating small wins. Yes, we are not celebrating small wins. The simple words like well done, good job gives a lot of morale and motivation to the team. So this is how we can manage the morale and motivation by avoiding few things. And on the stakeholder engagement, like as I said, it is a popular project management tool to define roles and responsibility within the project. Like more roles and responsibility or unclear expectation from the team members are the major issue which gives change fatigue to the team members and entirely hampering the project progress. So here the RACI stands for responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed terminology, where we already have, when during project plan, we already have a list of tasks which are available, which were break down properly when we prepare a detailed project plan to manage the complexity. Upon that task, we should always keep responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed informed person name or a department name, which can give a very much clarity that who owns this task, who is accountable for this task, who is just consulted and informed for this task. This gives a better clarity in terms of who is responsible, accountable, consulted, and informed, reduced ambiguity and overlapping of the responsibilities, ensures that there is a single person accountable for each task, which help taking and holding individual accountable. Also helps streamline the communication so that specific consultation and informed members are already mentioned, and it facilitates the project plan in terms of adding proper monitoring and execution during the project. So these are the three problems, like when we face the change fatigue. And then what are that three problems? We talked about managing project complexity and uncertainty, managing morale and motivation, and managing stakeholder engagement. Now, to have that, this is a summary slide where the strategy of setting up clear expectation, resources, and realistic timelines through a detailed project plan and project charter will help. For morale and motivation, engagement of stakeholders, involvement of stakeholders can be managed through a celebrating small wins. Implement incremental changes and frequent unplanned changes can be managed through Eisenhower or urgent and important task metrics. Support we can provide in terms of resources, training, and stakeholder engagement. Role for stakeholder engagement, roles and responsibility through RASI metrics, feedback through a regular review meeting mechanism metrics, and communication and escalation metrics will help to manage the stakeholder engagement. As I said, like change is the end result of all true learning. So learning is very, very important. Training your team, getting feedback and learning and noting down the learning during the project life cycle and applying that to your execution plan is also very, very important. So with this, like, thanks for your time. I'm concluding my presentation over here. You can take the question, and I hope that in a very concise manner. There are multiple ways to overcome the challenges. There are multiple strategies. If you go on Google, if you go on LinkedIn Learning, you will get lot of guidance on how to manage the projects. But these are project management which I experienced during my career and like during my stint of project management. That this helped me a lot, and I hope it give clear and actionable insights to all the members who have attended the seminar. Thank you very much. Thanks.
Thank you so much, Hirax, for effectively communicating with us the importance and how instrumental it is to address fatigue. It should be responsibility of organization to take care of its employees and promulgate the right things, communicate right, and see if their work-life balance is addressed. So we do have a question from Zankhana. I'll redirect that to you. It is generally for delayed projects, there are many things at stake. How do we manage senior management and leadership teams? Because everything is required as of yesterday, and much so because of dynamic changes, especially related to regulatory changes or changes in the market.
It is basically to manage the flexibility of the project, right? And the project flexibility, like this is a common problem. Like a senior management have their long-term project and strategic projects in place, and people want to resolve that issue within the urgency and prioritize metrics. So in this kind of situation, if you want to implement changes which are being done by regulatory, which are not part of a project plan, so you have to be flexible enough. You have to manage your replan and reschedule. As I say, project charter is a very dynamic document. So once the regulatory changes or changes that are applied or the rules for the projects are changed or any uncertainty comes into the picture, the flexibility part need to be managed through the stakeholder management, and you need to change your project charter and the project plan accordingly to manage impact on the complexity of it. That's what
I hope that answers your question, Zankhana. We also have one question from Himanshu. How to work on trust and team cohesion for employees showing resistance to ability to absorb change?
It's kind of a very generic and very a stakeholder engagement kind of a stakeholder engagement is not managed into the project. So like team efforts, it completely bases on the how you informed your decision, what are your end goals, and are we on the same platform. All the team members should aware of what are the complete informations which are there into the projects, and they should be aware of the real situation which is going on to the. So transparency and giving a complete information and picture to the team. And also you can have like regular team meetings where you can discuss where are we lagging, and providing support and resources to the team members will help in this kind of matters.
I think that that situation would be relevant to those employees who work on multiple projects simultaneously.
Yes.
So they would act stringent or be inflexible to certain changes that must be meted on them. So and I mean, on a lighter note, if an employee says that I need to maintain my work-life balance, I need more of leaves so that I can perform effectively. So how does the change management, I mean, through HR, how is that addressed?
See, again, I will say like once people, if people are not engaged, they will see everyone wants to work for the project, right? They are into the team because they want to contribute. But why? The question we should ask, why person is not contributing? Why? Because every day when he comes to the office, when he plan his day, he wants to add the value to the organization, value to the project, and he comes from home uh, to add some value. And if he is not adding the value, we should first understand what is the reason behind it, why he is not contributing. Maybe the reason is he is not properly engaged, his roles and responsibilities are not clear, we have not given him a specific target or KPI, he is not clear about his goal, he is not on the same page what team is trying to achieve, and rather like whether he has that change resistance because he has some other views on executing the task. So we should always respect his view as well. Like there are always a better way to do the things. So if people are not listening to him, people are not giving respect to his thought process, so that also may have a little less engagement. And once people start engagement challenges, they will start first detaching themselves from the meetings, then they will start avoiding the reviews, and then ultimately at the critical moment they will start taking leaves, and they will not feel themselves engaged into the. So engagement to the stakeholder is very important, and giving a clear view picture of the project and a real time of progress to the team members is very important.
Certainly. And also you mentioned a bit about the assessment tools that you use. I mean, but those assessments, they were on the quantitative aspects. What about qualitative aspects? I mean, corporates also do behavioral assessments to study the psychology of employees. So how beneficial is that to assess and implement something through the change management process, if there is any?
Training is very important. Engagement to the team is very important, and that is completely like in the project management. What I can say is engaging your stakeholders and communication to maintain their morale and motivation gives like is important, and we can take help of HR to do this strategically to improve our engagement within the team through different workshops, through different engagement forums. But that is completely a different engagement forum, which is not, maybe it gives a morale and motivation to the employee, gives a better engagement, but it feels like it is of more of a HR's initiative where they should help team to get engaged onto the uh, project management.
Certainly, got your point. So we do have one more question from Manoj. Hi, Hirek. How resources are important in project?
Resources are very, very important. Like when we talk about managing complexity, we talked about how we can manage the resources. So when we do a work breakdown structure and break down the task into different smaller tasks, at each stage, if we have a right resources in place, and based on that resource planning, what resource, what is the duration and engagement hours of that resource, and based on that resource planning, we should also identify what are the team members who are having overloaded with the work, who are the members, the engagement of the team members through a resource planning is very, very helpful. And during the project management plan, when we work break down the structure into different smaller tasks, at that time we can manage that resource planning. And the tools like project management or MS Project gives you a detailed resource reports, which gives you a clear cut idea about how many hours of project hours are required, and how is the engagement of all the resources, what are the resources who are overly engaged, and what are the resources have a sufficient amount of time available. You can use them into and divide the work accordingly. So resource planning comes into the phase of project managing project complexity and creating a project plan. When you work break down the your major task into smaller task and assignment. I hope that
Certain. Yes, I hope that answers the question, Manoj. And certainly, as you said, I mean, it's a collective effort. There has to be a proper allocation and appropriation of resources from the management side, and from the employee side, or from the down structure. It should be that they should be using it feasibly, so that I mean, it's implemented well, and there isn't any bad prioritization of that resource. So. So thank you so much, Hirek, for the this engaging session. I hope that we can associate again in the future to have many more such sessions and presentations. Feel free to shoot down your questions to Hirek, to us, or directly to him. Connect with him on LinkedIn, and we look forward to associating with you again, Hirek, for our future sessions.
Thank you very much, Piyush. I hope thanks everyone for joining me, and thanks for the time and support. Thank you, Piyush. Thanks.
Okay, thank you. So our next session starts at 11 a.m. Kindly use the same link to join again. See you then.